Welcome to another edition of Spits and Suds. So glad you can join us as we now make our way towards playoff game number 1, Stars-Avs. And of course, we want to talk about that, kind of recap last night with one of our favorite guests. He's a regular contributor to Spits and Suds, does an amazing job with starsthoughts.com, also contributes to D Magazine. I encourage everyone to subscribe to starsthoughts.com, and thanks to all of you who have. Robert Tiffin joins us. How are you, my friend?
Doing good, Gavin. Doing good. It's the thick of the hockey season. Playoffs are about to start. Was just on the road a couple different times over the past few weeks for Stars games, and was actually just down in Frisco this morning watching the Team USA's under-18 team practice with a couple of other. Team Germany was there too in the stands, kind of watching. I think I saw Team Slovakia hanging around too, and then Team Switzerland hopped on the ice right after. So there's hockey going on all over the place. So
really
it's always good when that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're covering juniors, and then last week you did both the Texas Stars and the Dallas Stars. What was your Texas Stars? What was that like?
Yeah, that was really cool. I got down to Cedar Park earlier this season once. Was going to get down there twice, but just once so far, and then got to see the Texas Stars in Grand Rapids last Saturday. Against the Griffins, who's a team they very well might play in the first round of the playoffs, actually. And that was a really good game. Got to see a couple of the new college signings in the Stars organization play for them. Wrote about that a little bit on Stars Thoughts. Trey Taylor, got to chat with him. Actually, Sean and I both got to chat with him after the game. And it was really cool just to hear about his kind of where he's at and what he's excited about, why he chose to join the organization, and all those sorts of things. So really good stuff. It was really fun. By far the most lasting impression from that game, though, was the hot dog cannon that the Grand Rapids Griffins have. The mascot, who's a griffin, like a big eagle head. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's every bit as awesome as you think. He comes on at intermission, and it's this giant, like, bazooka looking thing, and someone skates over and loads up these like foil wrapped hot dogs into the cannon, and then he tilts back and kind of menacingly aims it in different directions, and then boom, fires like 3 or 4 of those bad boys at a time. And they are, I mean, you need to be looking alive. They do not, it's not this nice gentle arc where they come up and slowly come down. Those things are end over end, pop, 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 pop. Like they people in the press box were saying they've gotten their laptops knocked over and broken by one of those hot dogs. And this is the top of and it's a big arena too. It's really big. I think it holds 7,000 some odd people. Yeah. It's pretty big. Yeah. So that was by far the most lasting impression. But AHL hockey is good hockey. I like
really it. Good. Really good. It was you ask AHL players and they just say the biggest difference, not necessarily, I mean, obviously the speed might be up a notch in the NHL, but it's just consistency. That is what defines you either as an AHL player or an NHL player. Sidebar note, our own, we had him on Spits and Suds, Cross Hannes. He's born in Dallas, lives in Louisville. He plays for the Grand Rapids Griffins, having actually a pretty good season. So nice little Texas tile up in having some hot dogs up in Grand Rapids. Let's just say that. Okay, so when you watched last night's game, I love the article where you said, go through Spits and Suds. Some you'll like, some you may not. There might be some Stars fans that did not like last night's episode. I didn't necessarily tee off at them, but there has been some frustrations, and I've tried to keep it on. And now I'm to the point, Robert, where watching last night's game, the defensive lapses were they were really frustrating as far as the high-quality chances and where those high-quality chances were without a defenseman around or a defensive forward.
Yeah, and that came through pretty clearly on your podcast last night, right off the hop. You're coming in hot, and to be fair, I mean, I think you're more or less matching the mood of the fan base overall right now. I mean, dropping 7 straight to the end of the season is a huge bummer of a way to go into the playoffs. No matter how good you are, no matter how healthy you are, you can't end on much more of a sour note than that. Couple that with Robertson getting hurt, man, it was a tough watch. The 2 points from that game, I guess you could point to as slight positives. Number one, of course, Tyler Seguin coming back, looking good. I thought they'd ease him in a little bit more, and maybe partly because Robertson got hurt, and partly just because Seguin felt good and looked good. He played over 14 minutes, I think, almost 15, which didn't really seem like he was taking it easy too much. Took a couple hits and everything like that. So that's a big positive. You want to see Seguin back, and it looks like he's ready to hop back in and again, we'll see how he is in game one, but the playoff schedule is pretty brutal. So every player is going to be tested, but it was good to see Sagan back. The other thing I'll say, and I don't say this to make excuses or anything like that, because the Stars have been hemorrhaging goals lately. It's been bad, but the one thing you can say is that most of those goals, four of the 5 goals were at 5-on-5, and 3 of those goals were with Sam Steele on the ice. Not that he was necessarily the one at fault, but that tells you this is mostly them taking advantage of, bottom 6, bottom line forwards, bottom pair. Again, those are players that are playing in the playoffs, most of them, except, Brendan Smith probably isn't going to be starting the top 6 for the blue line. But it's not like every line is playing badly, but it's also not like the other lines were scoring or anything either, which the Stars team needs to. So pretty understandable to be frustrated after last game, even if there are maybe some little shreds of hope you can cling to.
So I was talking about this today because a couple of people were talking about the goaltending situation, and I love me some Jake Ottinger, and I think he needs to be elite in this playoffs with the situation involving Miro Heiskanen, with the defensive issues they're having. I think Jake has to be better than what Jake has been, and he's been a really good goalie this year. But I thought of a comparison, and I wanted to throw this out there because Connor Hellebuck on his way to his second straight Vezina, and the defense in front of him is statistically the best in the league. And I think of like a football offensive line. Let's take the Cowboys, for example. If Dak Prescott is continually under pressure and running for his life, there will be a point where the fan base will say, well, I understand, and hopefully Dak can make plays, but they have to improve the offensive line. And I thought about that in a hockey sense because I had 4 of the 5 goals last night as ones that, I guess maybe Jake Ottinger could have stopped a couple, but it wasn't the one where the puck came to him and he kind of, screwed up the puck handling. I put on Jake Ottinger. But other than that, I just thought they were high quality chances. What do you think of my comparison as far as this defense needs to be better in front of the goalies?
Yeah, I get ripped every time I say that Jake Ottinger wasn't to blame for, a 2-on-1 backdoor goal or something like that. So I'm pretty immune to it by now, but I completely agree. It was a huge defensive breakdown on just about all those goals. And even the first goal, it's a deflection that goes against the grain and slips in just perfectly in the post. I mean, Ottinger is squaring up for where the shot's coming from, and then it ticks off Bork and goes exactly the other direction. The other goals, all of them that I can remember, were someone alone, either in front of the net or in the back door. There's multiple 2-on-1 situations. These aren't shots where it's a shooter versus a goalie and the shooter shot is better than the goalie's save.
Right.
There's situations where this is always my test for Stars fans when they start to get frustrated about goaltending or think, oh man, should have stopped that. Okay, switch the teams. If your shooter was the one shooting, would you be annoyed at him if he didn't score? And in all of those, I think you would say absolutely yes. You should score on every single one of those chances. Again, the first goal, bit of a fluke, but those other ones, I mean, come on. You cannot give up those chances. Marchment was furious with himself for losing coverage.
Yeah,
on,
I mentioned
that
snapping his stick.
And he owned it after the game, too, in the post-game interview. He absolutely said one of those was on me. That. Which is good. The only thing is they've been owning it for quite a while now, and the coach owned it even before the 7-game losing streak started, or winless streak, technically. So, what are you going to do at this point? What are you going to do? Either they've got this extra level and they're just waiting to go to it because they've been kind of in playoff mode. And, we talked about it before the season, right? We said, look, they got the top seed in the West last year. It didn't really help them that much with the gauntlet they had to go through. So I don't know. Part of me still wonders if they've just been kind of saying, you know what, we'll get through the season. We've done enough. We got to 50 wins, and we're not going to kill ourselves to make a statement down the stretch. And, they rested players, so it seems like they were all on the same page. So, again, it'd be one thing if they went like 3-4 down the stretch. It just really stinks that they lost every single game in the last 7.
Yeah.
That's hard to swallow.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. All right, before we get to start talking about this Avalanche Stars series, if you're listening to this, you have an opportunity to go to Game 1, courtesy of Robert and StarsThoughts.com. You were contacted by a subscriber and they wanted to do something really cool, they have seats in section 105, and the concept is donate $20 or more to your favorite charity, send you the receipt, and you in turn will put them in a drawing to win those tickets. That's a really cool thing, man. That's really, really cool. How's the response been?
It's been great. It's been great. It's been up for about a day, I think, so far, and we're already well over $1,000 donated.
Wow, great, good for you.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where just talking to the reader, he wanted to do something. He had these. He just always kind of looks for ways to be generous and wanted to partner on this one. So it's worked out really well to, rather than just limiting it to one specific cause. There are a couple that I particularly like and everything, but it just seemed like this was the best opportunity to kind of open it up to people. And frankly, one of the coolest things has been seeing the different organizations people have donated to. There's a lot of them out there that I hadn't even heard of, and then I looked into them a little bit after seeing the donation, and it's been really cool. So
nice.
If we get the chance to do something like this again, I might have to put together a list of some of these, and just because there's a lot of folks who are saying, yeah, I'd love to donate. Do you have any good ones or whatever?
Yeah.
So that's been really cool to see.
That's awesome. Well, we are going to try our best to repay our favor. We, on 4 of our stations, have a community fairs program called Better Living, and we look for DFW community charities. So those that you listed, you and I can talk, and we'll get contacts, and we'll have them on for a 30-minute interview and hopefully give them more publicity. So stick
cool.
tap to you, my friend. All right, let's get into this. Let's get into this series, and I just don't. Flipping the switch is so fascinating. Like Saturday night, I'm just fascinated. I'm excited, but I'm also fascinated. And I guess my first question is I get that you can turn it on for the playoffs, and that can happen. However, open forwards against Detroit, open forwards against Nashville. What are your thoughts on how they are going to cover Nathan MacKinnon without Miro Heiskanen?
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Doing any defense when you don't have Miro Heiskanen and you're used to having Miro Heiskanen is a tall order in the best of times. The good news is Esa Lindell is really good.
Yeah,
he's
really
good defensively. He's just about the best defensive defender you could really ask for in a lot of ways. The problem is his, Heiskanen's mobility is this extra asset that allows him to kind of keep up with players like McDavid or MacKinnon usually in the best of times. But really, I think this series, like so many playoff series, is going to be decided by getting your best players out against the other team's bottom 6 and bottom defense pairings. So as much as we can talk about how, we wish we had, we wish we could see Heiskanen out there for 27, 28 minutes a night, really, they'd still be looking to take advantage of those higher leverage opportunities, like when the third pairing is out there, whatever that third pairing is. So I still kind of think that's what'll happen. That's why power plays so often can decide a series too, like we saw in Edmonton last year. As much as it's about strength on strength, the best players in playoffs usually tend to kind of exchange punches throughout a series, whereas taking advantage of those weaknesses and that's really what coaches are doing, right? When they're strategizing and they're game planning, they're looking for how do we exploit this particular thing they do or this thing they can't do as well, and how do we exploit these players that have more well-known weaknesses. So yeah, MacKinnon is, who's better than him right now?
Yeah.
It's going to be tough no matter what, but then again, the Stars score a lot of goals too. So if they have to win by scoring 7 goals a night, hey, they scored more goals than Colorado this year. They prevented more goals than Colorado this year. They had a better penalty kill than Colorado this year. There's a lot of things that give you little reason for hope, even if Heiskanen's absence is a huge blow to that.
Yeah. As of right now, the power play unit, which is 9th in the league, Colorado meaning, Nichushkin, Necas, Drouin, MacKinnon, Makar. That's their 5, which is pretty formidable. They are going against Dallas, finished 5th, but for most of the year, Robert, they were up, top 2. They were absolutely tremendous. But I think that goes back to a problem that Dallas has had when we could possibly relate this to Miro Heiskanen, league leading as far as shorthanded minutes on the ice, which means you're spending a lot of time in the penalty box, which is kind of a shame because at the beginning of the year, they were one of the best as far as staying out of the box.
Yeah, it really does. I don't know that you've ever seen a team be so starkly two different versions of itself as
Yeah.
we've seen with the Stars this year. It's if their grand plan is to lull the Avs into a false sense of security, they're doing a great job. You have to give them credit for that.
Sure.
You could not lull them any more than they've been lulling them. This is the lullingest last couple of months of the season you ever could have asked for. Dallas, great at goal prevention historically. They've been a top 10, defensive team in a lot of ways for the past couple years, or more or less. And then this year in the second half, they just completely have fallen apart without Heiskanen. And it's, you can point to a lot of reasons for that. I think the defensive depth, Matt Dumba hasn't worked out where they've wanted him to, and underneath that, they just haven't really had enough. It's been a top 3 and a bottom 3 for the Stars, and lately it's been a top 2 and a bottom 4 in a lot of ways. And that over time, especially with some of the other struggles, has really just started to wear on them. And well, we'll see. Yeah. You never know, right? Again, if they're saving something, and if you can't wake up for game 1, and if the Stars, after losing 7 straight game 1s, if they can't wake up for this game 1, then they're probably never going to.
Yeah, and some new names up the middle, acquired by Colorado at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
They were struggling. They've really struggled at that center position as far as second center and third center since Kadri left. And they tried Casey Mittelstadt, ended up trading him. Now they acquired Brock Nelson from the Islanders, a name that a lot of Stars fans were interested in, and also Charlie Coyle from the Boston Bruins. So some vet signings as far as up the middle heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, the way I think about Matt Duchene, I think I read this in a preview somewhere too, but the way I think of Brock Nelson and Matt Duchene are kind of similar. I mean, I think Duchene's having a better season by far, but when you're looking at a playoff series, Nelson is kind of Matt Duchene with the stats balanced out a little bit. Duchene, incredible at creating offense on the rush, transition, and things like that. He's been fantastic for Dallas all year. Whereas his defense, he gives up a little bit on defense. He just does. That's not his game. He's not a lockdown center, and that's okay. He still creates a lot more than he allows. Whereas Nelson is a little bit more contained, kind of on both sides. He's a little bit more of an even keel player. So the good news for Dallas is, in that situation, if you're looking at your second line centers, Duchene probably more likely able to score a really critical goal or create one in crunch time if you need him to, than Nelson, who kind of tends to pile up 30 goals every year one way or another, but isn't necessarily a player who's going to come in and just wow you by beating your best players and scoring. Although certainly, he can, but anyone who watched at Four Nations saw that Nelson isn't necessarily the sort of player who pops in that sort of game when you're playing against tough competition, like Four Nations mostly was. So I think when you go down the middle, Coyle, against Wyatt Johnston, I'll take Wyatt Johnston every time.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Coyle has some name brand value, but Wyatt Johnston is, he's not really a third line center anyway. When you look at the minutes and everything too, we talk about this all the time. But the Stars center depth, I think the thing is, Colorado by far, they have maybe the best center in hockey, or one of, depending on how you feel about McDavid right now or anyone else. But after that, I think the Stars have second and third center covered, and I think Jack Drury is playing center on the fourth line for Colorado, and he's a guy. I think they got him did they get him in the Rantanen trade, I think, from Carolina, and he's a guy.
Yes,
it's fine. He's a fourth line.
Yeah,
Stars have Sam Steele, who you're probably going to like one of those more depending on which team you root for.
Yeah.
But overall, the Stars have more depth, and I think this is true of their forward core as a whole. They have more depth. I mean, you look at the other players that Colorado has that you're going to get annoyed at seeing. Martin Necas is going to score a goal, and you'll be really annoyed, and they'll talk about him scoring and has Rantanen scored yet or whatever, right? That's going to be the big narrative the whole time. Can Rantanen score against his old team? And, of course, Val Nichushkin and everything that goes along with that, if he can actually play a whole series,
right?
Which he hasn't been able to do lately,
right? Yeah, and one of the ones that that you might be about to mention is Yoel Kiviranta. And what's interesting about that is that we all know how, we'll call him a Stars one playoff game legend for what he did against the Colorado Avalanche to send them to the next round. So Kiviranta was absolutely huge for Dallas, but what a lot of people might not realize, he had a career year for the Avalanche.
Yep. Yeah, he's been really good, and he was out for a little bit, and they missed him when he was out for a little bit in the year. He was one of those players where they just felt like, oh man, we just need to get this guy back in our lineup. We
Almost
just
20
don't look
goals.
right in our bottom six without him. Yeah. So to him, an analog I might think of, they're different players, but Evgeny Dodonov, who also hit 20 for the Stars this year, right? He's that player in your bottom six who could easily score a couple sneaky big playoff goals. That's just the player Dodonov is. He's not as well-rounded a player as some other guys in your bottom six, maybe, but he's one of those guys that you just never know. I mean, everyone remembers 2 years ago, right after they got him at the deadline, Dodonov was big in the playoffs with Johnson and Ben when he was healthy. So there's, again, you look at the depth overall, Avalanche have the top guy by far, and then I think the rest of the top nine, the Stars have the edge overall. I mean, Rantanen is, he and Natchez are both good players, but I'd take Rantanen over Natchez every time.
Yeah, I would. Yep.
And twice on Sundays.
Yep.
So, but again, it's not just about talent on paper. You're not asking how they're going to project over 82 games. You're asking specifically how they're going to play against this team and what this team does, and that's where it gets really interesting, right? Because as we saw against Vegas, you can be the 8th seed, 1 seed, you can be whatever seed it is, and at the end of the day, it's all about beating that team in that game, however you can do it. And if the Stars do that because Jake Ottinger goes off, great. If they do it by scoring 8 goals, great. They really won't care. They really won't care.
Another player that I wanted to talk about that I want Spits and Suds listeners to look for, because everyone's going to notice Cale Makar on the ice, and the attention doesn't necessarily shift to his defensive teammate, Devin Taves. Acquired from the Islanders a few years back, signed a long-term contract with Colorado. They're not easy to come by. If I had my Stars wish list in an offseason, I'd want to get a Devin Taves just to, quote-unquote, free up Miro. We've heard that in Star circles, free Miro or free Harley. In other words, he's the defenseman that allows Cale Makar to fly around the ice like he does because he's so sound defensively, a bigger guy, and just is going to be, one of those guys that just is solid game in and game out.
Yeah, there's a little bit of Sador-Zubov similarities.
There you go.
In their dynamic. Both of them can chip in. Makar is incredible, elite offensively as a defenseman, one of the best ever. I would say even now, obviously. But Taves is no slouch either. He can chip in some goals too. After that, though, you look at their bottom four is not actually much better than the Stars' bottom four, even without Heiskanen.
Yeah.
So yes, Devon Taves is one. Probably going to score some sneaky, annoying goal at some point. He'll say, "Oh man,
Manson's going to be physical."
Yes, he's definitely can hold down that end of the thing. And to Makar's credit too, he plays tough too. Even though he's not the biggest guy, he can lay a big hit too here and there. You got to watch out for him. I mean, he's a player, right? There's a reason he's got Norris Trophy on his mantle.
Yeah.
But really, what it's going to be like, the other kind of old school, well, not really old school, but the 20 years ago comparison that I think of is Anaheim when they had Scott Niedermayer and Chris Pronger.
Yeah.
And it seemed like you'd play them and one or both of those players was on the ice every single shift. It just seemed like you never really got away from them. And I think this series is going to be like that, where it feels like Makar or MacKinnon is out there every other shift. And they probably will be. I mean, they play a ton of minutes. MacKinnon plays 23, 24 minutes a night as a forward, which is insane. And I think Makar is going to be playing 28, 29 minutes as well. So it's going to be frustrating. Again, that's why it's going to be critical for the Stars to be able to score against the other parts of their lineup. Because if you can't break through against their bottom 9 or their bottom 4, it's really tough to win a matchup against 2 of the best players in the NHL.
Your example of Zubov and Sador was better than my throwback of Matthias Nordstrom. You remember him?
That was good.
Yeah, former LA King.
Stars got him they got him from LA, right?
I loved him.
Yeah, he was great. He was a great player.
Really was a great player. All right, so since you're around the team so often, I thought it was interesting that the door was kind of reopened, not to get everyone too excited, but that possibly, I think we all assumed that Miro would be gone for this first series, but, from what we heard the other day, per Sean Shapiro, maybe that door is cracking open as far as a late series return.
Yeah, I mean, Sean and I both saw Jim Nillen when we were in there in Detroit too, and I've talked to people about this. Everyone's heard kind of the reports, and really what it comes down to is this: The only thing the Stars are confirming is that Heiskanen is not going to play on Saturday in Game 1. After that, they've still been adamant. Jim Nill has been adamant in every interview he's given since ESPN reported that the Stars didn't expect Heiskanen to play. Jim Nill has been adamant that no, that's not quite right. We are only saying he's not available in Game 1. After that, we hope he can return at some point. When will that point be? I don't know. He's not practicing with the team yet. DeBoer said they're talking about how to integrate him back into those practices and everything, which is a good sign. But again, until we see him actually practicing with the team, it's hard to say that he's anywhere close. And again, this series, even if it goes the distance, it's only going to be about 2.5 weeks, I think, with the schedule coming out today. So we'll see. The Stars want him back. I wouldn't write him off for the series at all. I think I believe them when they say he might come back. I think they would be really honest and say if there's no way he was going to be back at all in the first round, I don't see much advantage in sort of prolonging that hope and adding that distraction. I think it's possible, but also I think it's, if he's not back in Game 1 and they know that for sure, it's probably because he's not particularly close at this moment. But again, all depends on him and his knee. And as we've seen before with players in the playoffs, players want to be back, right? Yeah. That's what they care about the most. So I think if Heiskanen can be at even 75% and there's not a serious injury, risk of severe injury, then he'll find a way to be back for that because he's just too important and he'll want to be back there too much. But we'll see. It'll be game by game after Game 1. I really believe that.
And you'll see lines tomorrow at practice, but any thoughts on what fourth line they'll roll out?
Yeah, I guess we should probably talk about Jason Robertson here too, because boy, it's funny because Tyler Seguin just came back, and that's been a great story. The Avs look like they're going to get Gabriel Landeskog back for the playoffs, which is a fantastic story. I mean, good for him. He's battled back for years now just to get back into the league after playing his last game when they won the Cup 3 years ago. So good for Landeskog if it looks by all accounts like he's going to be back in the lineup.
I hate the emotional lift that gives the Avalanche. I mean
it's going to be a boost.
He is so beloved there. His teammates absolutely love him. His teammates were watching. He is just, heck, Mikko Rantanen said he was watching. That's how important Gabriel Landeskog is to his teammates.
It really is, and that's where the Stars should be really grateful. I think that they have home ice advantage, that they don't start the series in Colorado with all of that chaos and all of that exuberance and just unhinged jubilation going off in Game 1. Right? They have a chance to, at the very least, split the first 2 games. But you really, I think it's never been more critical that the Stars win both of the first 2 games, because we all know how tough it is to play in Colorado. We all know how crazy it's going to be in Game 3 when Landeskog plays in front of home fans for the first time since that Stanley Cup run. The Stars will need to get off to a pretty good Game 1 start, and that's going to be even tougher depending on Jason Robertson, who obviously, as you talked about after the game last night, took some kind of what looked like a knee injury with that hip check from Michael McCarron. We'll see. Supposedly, Robertson was, I think, a national reporter said that he was walking with a brace after the game. So that's not great. But again, knees are weird things in hockey. Skating is a different thing than walking or running. So I'm always hesitant to really make any firm pronouncements about knee injuries until we really know what it is. Because braces in hockey, because of the gear you wear, you can stabilize the knee in a lot of different ways with your hockey gear on that you can't in, say, a sport like soccer or something like that. So that's not me saying anything anyone doesn't know. We're all working with the same information until tomorrow when we hear from the Stars. But wait, you asked about lines, though. We should probably talk about that.
That brings up my curiosity of, do you move Wyatt Johnston up to the first line, which you did at times, and put him with Hintz and put him with Rantanen and Seguin back? He can certainly, fill partly that role. On the lower lines, but the fourth line as well. I'm interested. Do you go with Beck? Do you go with Blackwell? It's going to because you do have size on this Avalanche roster, which would signal Beck. But I think Colin Blackwell is playing really well lately too. They're limited minutes, but we've seen that, on the penalty kill, Colin Blackwell's been really good too. So it's definitely a choice. I think both will get in the lineup in this series.
Yeah, I think that's pretty likely. Unless the Stars win 4 games in a row and don't see a need to change the lineup. But yeah, I think that's pretty likely. So here's what I'm going to say. That's a terrible preface. What I'm saying is this: the Stars last night before Game 82, DeBoer kind of said after Game 81 in Detroit, he kind of said, "Okay, yeah, we rested guys and blah blah blah. We lost another game, but we're going to bring Harley and Lindell back in for Game 82. We're going to more or less we're trying to finish the season with a win, and then of course we know Seguin came back in. So to me, Game 82 is as pretty close to a Game 1 of the playoffs lineup as you're likely to see with Heiskanen out. And what we saw in Game 82, Beck and Blackwell were scratched, and we saw Rantanen on the third line with Ben and Johnston. I think Dodonov is an interesting question because on the fourth line, I don't know that Dodonov's at his best on the fourth line. He can still score the odd goal from there, but Dodonov has enough talent and skill, even as the oldest forward on the team, to score. I mean, that's why we've seen him play in the on the top line and then on the second line at times, because he can do that. He can keep up with those players. He's creative enough to do it. But I think the odds are, if I'm a betting man, we'll see the same, if Robertson is back in the lineup, I suspect we'd see the same lineup we saw against Nashville in Game 1 against Colorado. If Robertson's not, then I would expect Beck to be in as well and Blackwell still to be out. That's where I'm at.
Where are you as far as the Colorado goaltenders, Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood? Do you think we'll see a rotation? And flip side, if the Stars go down, will we see Casey DeSmith get a game?
I don't think Casey DeSmith starts a game in the playoffs unless Ottinger is dealing with some, an injury or something like that. I just don't think so. If I'm wrong, then it's because things have gone very, very badly for the Stars. But Ottinger's ceiling is just too high. DeSmith has looked really good for stretches this year, but there's no doubt who the Stars' best goalie is and which goalie gives. I mean, DeSmith is under no illusions about this either. To his credit, again, he's been fantastic. He's in some ways had a career year, but there's no reason to start any kind of goalie controversy for Dallas. Ottinger's been really good this year too. He's, not I wouldn't say he's been one of the top 5 goalies in the league or anything like that, but around 10th in the league, I would say. For most of the stats I looked at a couple days ago had Ottinger in that range. And again, that's with the defense just turning into a pumpkin for the last 30 games of the season and giving up chances like nobody's business. So I think Ottinger, they're gonna live and die with Jake Ottinger, and honestly, I think most teams would love to be in that same situation. Ottinger's a great young franchise goalie, and as much as you might get frustrated at him not being perfect, that's the case with every goalie not named Connor Hellebuck, and even last year in the playoffs, that was the case with Connor Hellebuck too. So, I think Ottinger for sure, and I think. I think the lineup will be mostly static. Again, you might see Beck come in here and there or Blackwell come in here and there if they want a little bit more speed or whatever. Again, Colorado is also a really quick team, so could see Blackwell come in at times too. But I think overall what we've seen from DeBoer is that Blackwell has tended to be the furthest on that edge of people in the bubble, and then Beck has been the next player on that bubble. And I don't think that's changed in the last few games. So.
The fiery Ralph Strangis on Spits and Suds the other day told me to toughen up regarding NHL start times. So the amount of games that you go to on national, and trust me, you can throw out tons of Stars issues, but this is I'm telling you, this is like a top 3 issue with Stars fans as far as the start times. People want, if the puck drop, just put it closer to the actual start of the game. The Stars announced that it's going to be a 7:30 puck drop. Well, we all know that puck drop's probably going to be around 8.
Yeah, and games 2 through 4 are all going to be an 8:30 local start time too, which is going to be closer to 9. But really, this isn't consolation, but the reason for this is that you live in the Central Time Zone, and that Central Time Zone, for better or worse, just always kind of gets the shaft when it comes to playoff start times. Hey, if it makes you feel any better, Minnesota has a game against Vegas. That's not starting until it's scheduled for 10 p.m. Minnesota time. So that will really be like 10:20 Minnesota time when that puck drops in Vegas, which is, again, not trying to say it's all fine and dandy, but it was actually worse for the Stars last year in the first round against Vegas when they had some some 9 and 9:30 p.m. start times scheduled, which, as we know, went 20 minutes later than that. So this year, at least through the first 4 games, the worst they're going to have is an 8:30 scheduled start time, which will be 8:50. It's not great. None of us like it. Certainly, I don't think the players love it either. It means another hour and a half of just kind of sitting around waiting for the game to start in a game day. But it could be slightly worse because it was last year.
Right.
How's that for some?
Listen,
some
there was a game toward the end of the season. I was talking to Joe O'Donnell, the play-by-play voice of the Minnesota Wild, and I'm listening to the game, Robert, and I thought the game was in Seattle. They dropped the puck for a regular season game, 9 p.m. in Minnesota. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's wild. I guess Dallas fans can be grateful they haven't had to do that this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe I do have to. I tried to explain to Ralph that I have a day job, but he just didn't want to listen. So that's Ralph Strangest for you. But it's a fiery episode. If anyone wants to go back, Ralph certainly lets it fly regarding his thoughts on the Stars. I just kind of kicked back. I think I got 22 words in for the whole podcast, so that was that was a interesting one. But Ralph,
I'm sure they were 22 great words, guys.
No, I don't know about that. All right, before we let you go, what do you have coming up on starsthoughts.com or your other platforms that we can look forward to?
Yeah, on later today, Thursday, I'll have a piece up kind of talking about how on earth a fan is supposed to stomach watching this series, given the vibes around the team right now.
Love
that. So that'll be a piece up for subscribers on starsthoughts.com. And then during the playoffs, actually, I am going to be doing David Castillo and I are going to be doing a post-game thing on D Magazine right after the game.
No way.
Every game in the playoffs, we'll be doing a little, I think David did it last year with Sean, and we'll be doing so David and I this year.
It's like a virtual chat with people?
It'll be kind of each of us will kind of give a short take on the game that we just saw from different angles. So
very nice.
Yeah, it should be really good. Hopefully I'm not stealing David's thunder by announcing that, but it's 2 days away. So that'll be some great stuff right after the fact. Man. And then, of course, I'll have stuff, post-game coverage up on my site on Stars Thoughts as well. But, look for that piece later today. You have 1 day left to Friday at 5 p.m. is when I'll close entries for the ticket giveaway to win those 2 tickets, 3 rows up from the glass. It's been great so far. So, if nothing else, at least people are doing a bunch of good in the community or for some worthy causes in the meantime, no matter what good or bad the Stars are doing on the ice.
And you won't say it, but as I said on X/Twitter the other day, you're an independent reporter giving us amazing Stars information, going on road trips, putting all your effort into this, and we truly appreciate it. And we can support by subscribing to your Substack, which has all your information. You're an excellent writer, starsthoughts.com. I laugh a lot during your articles. So, for what it's worth, I do. Your humor is very good.
Either at me or with me. I'll take it either way.
No.
It's an entertainment business, and I think there's a lot of people out there and a lot of places you can go to just get kind of this person scored at this time or winning is good and losing is bad sort of stuff. I try to have a little bit more fun with it because that's just kind of my approach to most things in life, is that it's a little bit more fun to be a little bit more silly. So maybe you might love that or hate that, especially if it's a tough game or the Stars have lost 7 in a row. You might not be as much in a joking mood, and I can understand that. But hey, some gallows humor can be good too. So hope you'll join
despite you becoming large, you, Sean Shapiro, David Castillo deserve a lot of credit for continuing to come on this podcast, and I truly appreciate your support. Luds, he doesn't come on anymore, but we still love Luds. He's doing great. I'm so happy and proud for Luds, man. He's kicking ass over at DLLS. I just give him a lot of credit the way he's breaking down the game. So I miss Luds, but I'm super happy that he's getting the reps that he is, because he deserves it. All right, my friend, we will talk to you soon, and we will be viewing and subscribing to your stuff. Thank you so much for the preview and the recap from last night.
Thanks, Gavin. You bet. Always enjoy coming on. And
that's another edition of Spits and Suds in the books. We'll have another episode for you soon. Until then, playoffs around the corner. So until then, have a great day, everyone.